If you do decide to become a psychiatric nurse, your chances of getting hit increases. So don't show any fear, because patients know when you're afraid. It's the energy. What's up, friends? Welcome back to KimmyDTV, a place where nurses and aspiring nurses come to achieve academic, career, and life success. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about safety tips when working in a psychiatric facility or unit. So for those of you guys who don't know, I have been an LPN since 2013, and I got my RN in November of 2020, and I currently work as a psychiatric registered nurse working in a psychiatric hospital. So when I was an LPN, I did work in the psychiatric unit in the nursing home that I used to work in, but I decided to take it a step further when I became a registered nurse, and I decided to work in an actual psychiatric hospital. And through doing that, I work with a various amount of age groups. I worked with children most of the time. They always put me with the children. I don't know why. It's really hard. If y'all want me to make a video about working with the children, when I mean children, I don't mean teenagers, like 6 to 12. I can make a video about that. They either put me on the pediatric floor, like children ages 6 to 12, or the teenagers. It's very difficult, by the way. But anyways, I do oftentimes work there, but sometimes, because I'm a travel nurse. I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna put my hair up because I feel my back, I feel like I'm sweating right now, and I don't want to sweat out my silk press. I just got my hair done, and it's hot in here, and I turn off the AC in this car because I want y'all to hear me, okay? So bear with me. So I work with adults sometimes, so I just wanted to share some safety tips, okay? Because, not to scare you, if you do decide to become a psychiatric nurse, your chances of getting hit increases. But the crazy thing is, even people who are scared of psychiatric nursing and jail nursing, is it could happen in med surg too. It could happen in ICU too. If a patient is confused, if they just had a stroke, or if they have dementia or anything like that, they can be in a mental state that causes them to hit you too. There have been instances of that happening. So it's quite funny how some people shy away from those dangerous jobs, where in essence, when you're a nurse, your job is dangerous in general, whether you work in a nursing home, even a family clinic, it doesn't matter. Psych is everywhere. Okay, so I'm gonna just put that out there. But here are some safety tips if you're working on working psych as a nurse, okay? So the first tip I want to say is don't leave anything on top of the nurse's station, okay? So that includes stapler, paper clips, pens, markers, long pencils, patient documents, of course, with HIPAA, and hand sanitizer, soap dispensers, okay? So let me explain to you that. So as nurses, you could be doing a double, you could be tired or whatever, so sometimes we may forget to think that, or sometimes your MHTs, or whoever you guys call it in your state, so MHT are mental health technician that help us keep the patients at bay. Sometimes anyone can walk by, or even if it's a nurse supervisor, it doesn't matter, and just leave a stapler there and leave a paper clip there. So if you're working, for example, in the teenager unit, and a lot of them, they want to commit, I can't say the word because it's YouTube, they can use anything and everything to sell, okay? So you don't want that to happen on your shift, because it looks really, number one, morals, and number two, it looks really bad on you. So I always make sure for the 12 hours that I'm there, okay, nobody has access to themselves, because that's why they're in the hospital, so that they don't have access. We're supposed to be watching them so that they don't have access to harm themselves. If they do have that opportunity, then again, you can't, you can't be Superwoman, and there's so much you can't control, but that much you can control. They're not that. What's the point of them being in a mental hospital if they could themselves or hurt themselves? It's they might as well not have been there. Their insurance is paying for it. We're getting paid to do that, so that's what's your job. So make sure you don't staple something and you just put it on the nurse's station desk. It's so easy to do that. Do not do that. Don't put paper clips. They can use paper clips. They can use pens. You know, they could be very creative. Even markers, to long pencils, okay? Hand sanitizers. There have been patients known to drink the alcohol from the hand sanitizers, soap dispensers, you know, patient documents, of course, because of HIPAA. You just want to make sure that those things are not on the nurse's station, okay? Another thing I wanted to mention is really watch your patients, okay? A lot of the times, you can stop something from occurring. So, for example, in my previous facility, I used to work in the teenage girls unit, and a lot of fights happened, okay? But on my shift, I always made sure I did my absolute best to stop a fight. And that could happen anywhere, even on the adult unit. So what I mean by watch the patient, watch your patient. I know sometimes we get busy, we have admissions, we get discharged, but really watch your patient, because a lot of times you can diffuse a situation, okay? Sometimes if a patient, for example, like they really want to make a phone call, okay? And, you know, because they have like a certain emergency, maybe they need to pay their bill, you know, they're in the hospital and they don't have access to pay their bills. Like, even if they're in the hospital, maybe they don't live with anybody, so you can easily diffuse that situation. But if their anger builds up, guess who they're gonna hit? It could be you, okay? Or if you're working on the teenage girls unit, oftentimes if you're watching them, you can see if a group is huddling together, or if one person is trying to go against a group of people, trying to go against this one girl. Or if you're working a teenage unit, and I hate when they do that, I don't think they should do that, ever do that. If the boys and the girls are mixed, that's asking for trouble, especially teenage pubescent girls and boys together. If you notice like certain things going on, like if you hear their conversation, they will never come up to you, and especially the teenagers, they will never come up to you and tell you, oh, this is what's going on, this is what's going on. But if you're watching, if you're seeing, you know, you'll be able to spot that, you know. And I think teachers too, it's like side note, should watch the kids. So basically watch those kids, watch the adults, you know. You can stop a fight before it happens. You just gotta watch them, okay? Assess them. I've stopped a lot of fights just by observing. I'm like, hey, do you need to talk? And I've talked, and I've been able to diffuse it as much as I can, at least until after my shift is done, you know, because I do not want any fights on my shift. That's one thing, you know. So I mean, I don't want the fights in general at all, but I'm just saying, I'm making sure that when Kimberly works, no ma'am, like, you rarely see a fight, because I diffuse that. Even with the children, I diffuse the situation. If I know the situation is coming on, I try to make it as best as I can without, you know, especially if you work on the kids, you know, without giving everything that they want at every second of the day, because that's not helpful at all, because life is not that way, and like, you're kind of making them go backwards. But I'm gonna put it like that. I don't like any fights on my shift. Hell no. I don't want to write an incident report. I don't want to call parents, call the doctor. No ma'am. Okay, so another thing is establish rapport with your patients. Even if you don't have time, find little ways to show you care. They are more likely to listen to you in an emergency situation if, you know, you do establish that rapport. So what does that mean? Sometimes we can get very busy on the floor, but while you're doing your assessment, like while you're giving them medication, you can ask them like real quick, like, hey, I can't say certain keywords on YouTube, but hey, do you feel like, you know, doing something to yourself? Do you feel like doing this? How's your day? Did you sleep well? Even if that's the only thing that you get to say out of your whole 12 hours, because it could be very busy during your shift, that one thing alone, they'll remember you, you know. Like, they did like a survey, and they found that the teenagers, they notice when nurses don't care, when MHTs don't care. They notice, you know. They may not say anything, but these kids, even the six-year-old kids, like, they're smart. Like, they, you know, kids are smart, especially these kids now. Like, they're very smart. They know when adults don't care. So if they're about to fight with somebody, if they see your face and they remember your face, you really cared, they're not gonna fight. And I've seen that. I've seen the times when a kid or an adult would want to hit somebody, but then they saw me and then everybody's trying to calm them down so they don't fight. But then I come along and they don't fight anymore. because I've already established that rapport with them. I'm like, come on, John, like, let's not do this today, you know, and I know something that they like, you know, I'll get you this or whatever, you know, I know you like that snack or whatever, let's do that. Or come on, like, what did we talk about? We talked about, you know, your coping mechanisms, walk away, this and that. And they'll listen to me because I already established that rapport before. But if they don't know who you are and you come out of nowhere, like, don't fight, they're like, and who are you? You know what I mean? So that's important. So another thing is work as a team with your MHT. I cannot stress that enough. Mental health technicians, it's so important to work as a team. Like, if I finish my admissions, my discharges, my notes, if I finish my nursing work, if my MHTs need help, I will help them. And it's not only that, but you have to know how to be a leader as a nurse too, which is what I'm learning. Because if you, and you know, being a leader, you don't have to be rude, but if you don't know how to lead your team, forget about it. You know, if you don't know how to lead your team, your MHTs are not going to know what to do. So for example, if the kids are getting riled up, you know, you need to be able to tell your MHTs, hey, I need you to separate these kids. Let's have these amount of kids in this room, and I'll watch them in that room. Or, you know, sometimes you gotta pull them to the side, like, hey, I noticed, you know, if you're not really engaging with them, like, do you need help? Like, is there anything that you need? You know, I always make sure, even when I was at LPN to my CNAs, I always ask my CNAs, did you go on break? I always ask my MHTs, did you go on break? Because let me tell you guys something, when you're a nurse, when you're a leader, you know, that's the price of being a leader. Even if I don't go on break, I make sure the people who are working with me go on break, because I need you to do your job efficiently so that I don't have statements to write, so that I don't have to fill out an incident report. And the way somebody can do their job right is if they have their break. Okay, I'm a little different. Like, I can run on my protein shakes, my water, my green tea, and you know, I have to do other stuff to take care of myself too. But I'm just saying, you imagine I depend on my MHTs to make sure that the kids don't act out crazy, to make sure that, you know, things go well, so that I can do my admissions without turning around and having to do an incident report. So work with your MHTs, you know. Be a leader, yes, but work with them. Understand, you know, what you're asking of them, and be fair. I was in the medication room, I don't know about your facility, but we have those blue plastic cups. Do not give it to them, because guess what? They break those cups and they use it. They can use it. Do not, I'm telling you guys, be careful with every little single thing that you give a psychiatric patient. It's not gonna be on my shift. When Kimberly's working, I give them the medication, I give them the medication cup, like, oh, I'll throw it away from you. No, ma'am, no, that's okay. I'll throw it away. Don't worry about it, I'll throw it away. Or if they want the cup, I'll give them a styrofoam cup. Doing an admission, make sure they don't have their strings, you know, of course, an intake, like, you know, they're supposed to tell them and stuff like that, but you know, nurses can miss it, and it's gonna fall on your butt because you are the floor nurse. So make sure they remove their strings, okay? If you know something about a patient, example, they want to be called a specific name, call them by it despite what their chart says. And that's another thing. It's a little controversial, but if a patient wants to be called a certain name, if I were you, I would just call it by them. It doesn't matter what you believe, you better call them by what they want to be called. Patients to hit staff, throw things, spit at them for not calling them by their name. So make sure you know what your patients want to be called. It's not the time to get political. When you're working with a patient, you know, even when you're walking on the floor, it's impossible, honestly. Like, honestly, that's why I just pray to God before I go. I'm like, yes, as long as God's on my side, I'm good. But try not to give patients your back. Try not to, you know what I mean. Try not to have anybody behind you. Because like I said, some of these patients, especially if you work on a PICU unit, they're mentally unstable. And if in their mind you become their ex-girlfriend that cheated on them, you can get hit. So just be careful. Just be mindful of that. Don't give people your back. You know, even when you give people your front, you know, watch people. Watch for cues, you know. Try to go to work in a good mood. You know, if you see somebody, you know, you can tell if you see somebody is about to like set it off and like about to be very angry, like if you want to give them medication, they're like no, like, or they're like acting like that. Don't force anybody to do anything. Just tell the doctor, hey doctor, patient didn't take their medication, blah blah blah. But you know, I'm just letting you guys know, like, getting hit is possible in psych. Whew, that's another video for another day. But there are things that you can do to alleviate that. All right, so at the end of the day, guys, like, don't be scared. Because if you're afraid, they will know you're afraid and you become more of a target. So don't show any fear, because patients know when you're afraid. It's the energy, you know. And just do what you gotta do. Pray about it and keep your distance. Be aware, be very aware, be very observant. Like, ever since I started working psych, I'm so observant of people. I'm so freaking observant, because I have to be because of my work. But anyways, guys, thank y'all for watching this video. If y'all found this video helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna get out this hot car and work on my BSN. Okay, bye bye.